are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
He has coached for the Greensboro Swarm with the NBA G League affiliate of the Charlotte Hornets. He's also coached in San Antonio with Central Catholic High School, and now he is with the Austin Spurs. Let's go ahead and bring in our guest right here on Locked On Spurs. He is Nick Saenz. He is the assistant coach for your San Antonio Spurs G League affiliate, Austin Spurs. Coach Nick, welcome to Locked On Spurs.
Jeff, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great, but I'm even doing better because you and I have something in common, and it's a very big thing too. We both are graduates of Central Catholic High School. Talk about a small world, Coach.
Yes, absolutely. And, Central Catholic for me has been, one of the cornerstones of just my life, with my dad being a graduate of 75 and both my brothers being there. I spent a lot of time in both the old gym and now the new gym. So it's Central's been so great to me. Yeah,
it is. Yeah. It's funny. We were getting ready, everybody listening in, and before we all hit record, I told Coach Nick, I go, Coach, you and I went to Central together, and his eyes just, what? Like, what's going on here? He goes, I think I heard you went to Central, and then we started finding the common connections. And why we're bringing this up? Because he is from San Antonio. He is a local kid, quote unquote, and now making his way to the NBA and hopefully beyond, maybe head coaching spot one day. We'll see if that's on the horizon for Coach Nick's. Fingers crossed. Yes. So we're going to be going over Coach Nick's path to the NBA/G League. What has he seen so far this season from your Austin Spurs? Record-wise, probably not great, but I'm pretty sure there's a lot of bright spots. What did he learn about San Antonio Spurs rookie Blake Wesley? And of course, those future plans. Hopefully the next time he's on, he's a head coach somewhere. We'll talk about that and more. So, Coach, again, thanks for jumping on Locked On Spurs. By the way, no pressure. Caleb Johnson was on last week, so no pressure. He knocked it out of the park.
Really, really tough to follow up.
Yeah. So we talked about it right now. You're from San Antonio, and obviously this is a San Antonio Spurs focused podcast, so that's great. And the fans love that. They love seeing people from their own backyard, the Alamo City, making their way to bigger and better things. And you've done that. How much has San Antonio meant to you?
San Antonio is home. Every team I've ever worked for, any type of break that I have, I try and get home, to see family, to see friends. Most of my friends that I have, I went to kindergarten with, and kind of just grew up with them all the way through school. Central being an all guy school, all of my, guy friends, a lot of them followed with me to St. Mary's. So, me being able to kind of just bounce around San Antonio from spot to spot, but and still kind of keep those same friends, especially close to home, with my family, it has been fantastic. And the city itself being able to kind of embrace what the Spurs have done in my lifetime, and, born in 88, but, Spurs winning in 99 and all the way through, and me being, a part of some of that, and just seeing how the city embraces the team made me even more so just want to be a part of what I can give back to this city in a way, being a hometown kid.
You talk about your roots and how your coaching roots started in San Antonio. We mentioned Central Catholic, from 2012 to 2015, you served as the men's varsity assistant coach and junior varsity head coach, and you quipped, but before you started recording with me about that, but it's true. If it wasn't for San Antonio, in this case, Central Catholic, that's where you got your coaching start.
Absolutely. And, I had been with the Spurs organization as a ball boy, and then actually worked with the Austin, then Toros at the time, for 2 years. And so I was at a point right after that 2012 season in Austin where I needed to, figure out what the next step was for me. And that meant I wanted to go back to school. I wanted to get my master's. And as I was doing that, I needed a job, and Central opened their doors wide open for me. I took the assistant spot with the varsity and also coached the JV. And, that was a great year for me to be able to kind of find my coaching voice. And I don't know if a lot of people talk about that, but it's really being able to just talk to players and have them understand you. And it's not just, getting angry or being mad if they do something wrong. It's really being able to kind of teach and mold your team the way you want them to play. And being able to get that opportunity at Central and really kind of mold the kids that I had at that point, I think was such an advantage for me. And, obviously Central's still given the advantage,
Right.
but being able to kind of do that at that point really, really helped me find how to talk to players. And a high school player is a college player, is a professional player. They all understand the X's and O's. They all understand what it takes, to get to that next level and the mentality it takes to play. And so being able to find that there was fantastic for me.
Yeah, it's been great to see, especially this season, and the links from the Spurs organization to the roots of San Antonio. I know you've been with Austin for a bit now, but there's from San Antonio Central Catholic, and then there's Charles Bassey, St. Anthony's. So and it goes with the San Antonio organization. So it's great to see that, and yeah. I mean, fans really appreciate that. They love seeing the organization give opportunities to local people. In this case, once again, we're talking with Coach Nick Saenz. He's assistant coach with the Austin Spurs right here on Locked On Spurs. As you're clawing your way up their coaching ranks in the league, and just overall, from Central, you started beginning your career with the Spurs, as you mentioned. You've role of scouting, player development, video coordinator with the Austin Spurs. And it's funny you mentioned it. You said, Jeff, I probably wouldn't be able to navigate a Zoom call and organizing that. But you put you in front of a video equipment, clipping game footage and everything. You're a whiz at that. Can you tell fans about that experience? What is it like to serve as a video coordinator for a professional basketball team? Hey, I want to talk to you about PrizePicks, a daily fantasy app you need to get right now. So how does it work? You pick 2 to 6 players, and they go on to score more or less in their PrizePick projection. You get up to 25 times your money on any entry. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. PrizePicks offers projections on any sport you watch: NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, disc golf, Eurobasket, cricket, and so much more. They have it all covered. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. Safe and fast withdrawals, currently operational in over 30 states and in Canada. Download the PrizePicks app right now. Go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users get themselves a 100% deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. You deposit $100, PrizePicks gives you $100. You deposit $50, PrizePicks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100.
Oh, I mean, you turn into an IT guy overnight, and it was such a learning experience, and I got to give credit to Quentin Crawford and Jordan Surenkamp. Jordan Surenkamp is actually the head coach of the Greensboro Swarm, who we play in the AT&T Center on tonight, Saturday. But I got to give credit to those guys, because I walked into a video room and not knowing the full capacity of what it takes. And you have to learn on the fly. You're watching a lot of basketball, and you're clipping, instances for coaches that they're asking for. So if a certain team runs a certain offense, and you're like, he's like, I need to see all the pick and rolls. And so now you're really watching, looking for every single detail to be able to describe to these coaches, what teams are doing that makes, them go, that makes them who they are. And so you're not only learning from the film that you're watching, but you're learning from other coaches. Now I'm taking in the knowledge that Brad Stevens had in Boston, that, Greg Popovich did in San Antonio when I was with Charlotte, and Rick Carlisle in Dallas. And I was taking all of that stuff that they did and saying, this is how they implement it, and this is what we can do to stop it. And that's kind of your building block on what you need to do, as a coach. And so it takes long hours. We didn't have some of the same capabilities that other teams did. So we were fully cutting every single game. And that means labeling pretty much every single part of the basketball game. You're looking at last minutes of, last 5 minutes of games in a close game and what teams are running and who, they're running it to, who's more efficient during out of timeout plays. And it's, it's a grueling year because you are behind that computer, but you do really make the team run in a sense because, you're watching your own team's film and being able to break down what you're doing wrong and what you're doing right and your successes and how you can build on those successes for the year.
Dispel a rumor for us, or maybe acknowledge it. Is it true that sometimes video coordinators, whether it be the Austin Spurs, G League, NBA, get calls in the middle of the night that a coach is up, needs certain plays, and you better be ready to go? Is that true?
I will not confirm or deny that. I will say that being on the job, you do have to be available at all hours. And, it's kind of just an ode to the coaches and how their mind works. They might see something they like on TV that night, and say, how can we implement it with one of our guys? Or, this is a great play for us to run, and the Spurs ran a great play the other night to win the game, with a Keldon Johnson, dunk. And so I'm sitting there looking at it. How can we run it, over here in Austin? So it's, the minds are going late night, and you never know what you can get, what kind of call you can get.
Yeah, I can imagine what happened. You were serving as a video coordinator with Austin, and then you also held the role of scouting / player development. Now we know the franchise, Austin included, they're going through a rebuild right now, trying to claw their way back to the mountaintop. Maybe it doesn't really apply in this situation. It just applies in any season, no matter what the records are, but what do you look for when you are in the role of a scouting, when you have that scouting cap on, looking for new talent, developing players? What does a coach, in this case, you want to see, for as much as you can tell us, I don't want to get you in trouble here, coach.
No,
but for as much as you can tell us, what does it really mean to be in the role of scouting player development?
Well, the player development aspect of it, when we work with players on a daily basis, we look at their talent level, where, their successes are and what they do well as a player. And we try and build on that. Hey, you're a great 3-point shooter, and teams are going to start to run you off the line. So what do you have to counter with that? Do you have a one dribble pull up? Can you get all the way to the rim? Can you finish through contact? And so once you kind of set those stairs and say, hey, this is where we can get you better. You're a good shooter. We're going to get you finishing at the rim now. And now we need to develop your left hand, so you can finish through contact and a step through a Euro step. That's the major part of, the development process. And as far as scouting goes, I wouldn't say I'm too heavy, as far as involved in the scouting of it. But what I can say is that you're looking for guys who can fit a mold in, on as a team like the Spurs. We're built on culture. We're built on playing the right way, playing together, being unselfish. And so you look for players, of course, who are good passers, who are, high IQ players, and guys who, can share the ball well, but can also, be good scoring options. And you fit a team together the kind of the same way you would any team, whether you're, playing with your rec league and you got a big man, you need a point guard, and, you put together a team, and now you got to make the puzzle pieces fit at this point. So you look for guys and to try and fit that mold, and then the player development aspect comes in. Now we're really going to mold you into, who we think you can be, and we see your ceiling, and we want to really reach that ceiling and maybe even explode through it.
With Coach Nick Saenz, he's an assistant coach with the Austin Spurs right here on Locked On Spurs. But in my opinion, Coach, more importantly, he is a Central Catholic graduate like myself. So I'm always going to put that ahead. Sorry, Austin, but in this situation, our buttons get a little first. But your path to the league, has been interesting. We mentioned the Central Catholic start, getting your coaching voice going there, video coordinator, scouting, but then you spread your wings even more. You joined the Swarm. You've been with the, I believe, with the Dallas Mavericks for a while with player development with them.
Yep.
You when you look back at those experiences with the Swarm and the Mavericks, and if you're looking at younger Coach Saenz right there doing his thing with the Swarm and Mavericks, what are you telling yourself as you're watching yourself in those roles? You're saying, "Come on, Nick, you can do better," or you know what, man, this guy has something here. What is present Nick look at when he looks at Mavericks and Coach with the Swarm, Nick Saenz?
You're telling young Nick, don't worry about your bank account. It's gonna grow. Just keep grinding. Yeah, the road for me has been a long one, and I'm only 35, but it has been long. And starting in Austin, when I was fresh into the game right out of college, and they threw me into the mix in the video room there, and I was on the floor with guys early on. But you're still humble. You're still driving the van, and you're still doing the laundry loops and making sure guys' jerseys are ready to go for game day, and always trying to put out fires when they're there. And then it was good right after Central. That coaching years, I went to Dallas, and I had known a coach at the time, Caleb Canales, who was there, and he got me in touch with their player development coach. And I spent 2 great years there learning with not only the coaching staff that they have, Jamal Mosley, who's a head coach now with the Orlando Magic,
right.
Mike Weiner, who is an assistant with Indiana, and Rick Carlisle, but the players. I mean, being around Dirk Nowitzki, and I know this is the San Antonio podcast, and right. I was around Tim, Tony, and Manu for a while, but being around another great like Dirk Nowitzki was also just he was fantastic to be around. Sure. A really great human Hall of Famer, obviously. So being able to watch him with his famous trainer Holger, work there and see what they do as an organization, because not every organization runs the exact same. And being able to kind of piece the things that I felt, are important for my self growth, and also for, culture growth within the Spurs organization. Like, what can I take away from there that they were doing that, excuse me, that we could do, would be great. And then, going from there to Charlotte and working with James Borrego, who, started in the video room in San Antonio.
That's right.
Got his start there, and being able to kind of take what we knew in San Antonio, even in my small role in the video room there, but take that and build what he thought would be a great culture in Charlotte was awesome. And Tony coming over and kind of bringing a little bit of leadership, sure. To a team that had struggled a little bit, and being around guys like Kemba Walker, Cody Zeller, these veteran guys who had been around the league, Marvin Williams, it was fantastic. It was, they are true leaders of the game, and teaching me pretty much at every moment too, like, this is what, needs to be done to be great. And James Borrego assembled a great staff, who he's got guys around the league now, in Sacramento and Indiana, even still with Charlotte, some of his assistants have stayed there. And so it's taking little things piece by piece, and really kind of evaluating how they affect your growth as a coach, as a person, and then what you can take from that and give to players moving forward. I can say, right, this is what this player did, and our guys here in Austin will say, okay, well, if he's doing that, I can do that also, and get better. So
yeah, you mentioned learning from one another and learning from experiences that you've done as well. And you mentioned, with Coach Borrego, I mean, and Tony Parker. I mean, Tony Parker and Borrego, 2 guys that are, fans haven't forgotten, obviously. But that must have been wild, like, hey, here's a kid from Central Catholic San Antonio, saw the river parades you talked about a little while ago, and now you're working with one of the greats of the Spurs, and then one of the best assistant coaches to leave and spread his wings and become a head coach. That must have been a little surreal for you.
Now I want to talk to you about Nissan Ariya. Nissan's most electric player of the week right here on Locked On Spurs is brought to you by the all-new, all-electric 2023 Nissan Ariya. And today's Locked On Spurs, Nissan's most electric player of the week goes to Zach Collins, averaging double figures, scoring at will now, showing that toughness, that meanness, that nastiness that Pop always talks about. Really has been steadying the Spurs in the paint as well as outside the paint as well, knocking down the occasional long ball. He is Nissan's most electric player of the week right here on Locked On Spurs. Hey, look, it's electric, brilliantly fierce, fiercely elegant, stunningly powerful, elegantly powerful. It delivers on duality, a combination of fierceness and elegance, beautiful but strong, the perfect SUV crossover. The 2023 Nissan Ariya packs pin-to-your-seat power and premium intelligence all in one EV. The all-new, all-electric 2023 Ariya, the EV for people who love to drive. Shop now at nissanusa.com. Now I want to talk to you about Built Bar. Hey, it's the Built March Madness bracket. It is here. We know you have your favorite bar or puff, and now it's your time to make it count. Go to builtmarchmadness.com to vote for your favorites. You know, I'll be voting for the churro bar puff. Yeah, it is really good and delicious. So if you want to support the Spurs to win, then you'll be voting for that bar too. Support your team, support your bar or puff. And when you vote for your local favorite bar or puff, you'll be entered into a drawing where 50 lucky Locked On listeners get a free box of Built. Not only that, but one Locked On fan will get a 12-month subscription to Built to have Built's best bars or puffs delivered monthly straight to their door. You got to try Built. Built, the best protein bar ever. Seriously, they're so amazing, you wouldn't even think they're good for you. What makes Built bars and puffs so good? Well, for starters, they're high in protein, low in sugar, covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. So pick up your box of Built bars right now. Go to builtmarchmadness.com, vote for your favorite bar or puff, and pick up a box while you're there. Hey, you can even vote every day in March. So hop in and support your pick.
It was, when I found out that Tony was going to Charlotte, it almost felt like, I was, having home with me in Charlotte. This was the first time that I was moving away out of Texas, and with no HEBs, and I didn't know what
how can you survive?
I didn't know what I didn't know what I was about to expect over in Charlotte without an HEB. But having Coach Borrego there and having Tony come over, and I had spent some years overseas in France with Tony. He had some camps that he ran, and I actually went with him. So this is more than just like, oh, we work together in San Antonio. Like, I can call him a friend.
Yeah.
And so having somebody over there to, spend time with me, I spent New Year's with the guy. It's nice. Not, I'm not trying to brag. I'm not trying to boast. This is because, these are family. This is, they call it Spurs family for a reason. And when you're so tied in, to the team and the culture, it really is like a good feeling to know when you've got a buddy kind of joining you and you're able to kind of joke around and have those, remember when stories to tell.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just great to see, and fans listening in right now are loving that to see again, homegrown person like yourself making it in the NBA. We're going to shift gears here, Coach Nick, and talk about the current season. Now, I know record-wise, probably not the greatest and what y'all expected to start the season, but that doesn't mean it's a total, waste, quote unquote. It's not bad, because there's been a lot of player development. Caleb Johnson comes back after serving some time in Venezuela. Other guys got a leap into the league. Charles Bassey, he goes from a 2-way contract with you guys in San Antonio now to a full NBA contract. Putting the record aside, what are some of the great positives out of this Austin Spurs season?
No, I think you mentioned it. Seeing Charles Bassey, get the contract and seeing our guys right now on the floor. Watching the game against Memphis last night, and seeing Blake Wesley on the floor, seeing Dominic Barlow on the floor, and knowing that they spent the hours in Austin, truly working, and now they're getting that NBA experience, because you need minutes to be successful. You can't just work in the background, and that's part of it for sure. but being able to get that NBA experience, those minutes on the floor is invaluable. It's so worth the time that they spent here. And so that's the true takeaway. And that's what we do here in the G League. I mean, if you're not doing that, if teams don't have those guys who are successful, then I think it doesn't matter what your record is, even if you win the whole thing. I think growing players, especially here with the Spurs, is priority number one.
Absolutely, and one of the priorities too is seeing the San Antonio rookies get their cut their teeth, so to speak, in the G League. And we've seen this before from guys like Boban, who spend time with Austin, to Derek White, to even DeJounte Murray, an all-star now. They all spend time with the Austin Spurs system. But this year, the Spurs really leaned on you guys with the development of Blake Wesley. What did you see from him? What did you learn? What were some areas that you helped him, focus on in his NBA development? Because of the three rookies, he's the one that really spent the bulk of, most of the time among the three with Austin. But what can you tell us about Blake Wesley and your experiences with him, developing him?
I mean, Blake was absolutely great to, be around, and you can tell when a guy comes to your team from the big club. So we're calling the San Antonio Spurs the big club, but when they come to your team, they have, almost like a sense of leadership. Like I need to sit there and lead these guys moving forward because they're going to see my actions and they're going to follow that. And so, it takes a young rookie some time to kind of see where he can fit. And with Blake coming in and being able to kind of just lead right off the bat and kind of saying, hey man, this is, we're giving you the reins right now. This is your team to run. He did a great job for us. And of course there's always growing moments. But I think with every, tasks that we gave him, he's been better and better. And most recently when he played for us, I think it was one of his best games. It may have not have been his best game in the stat line. And to be honest, I really don't know what that was, but overall, I think the way he played, the way he led our team, the way, we got him to push the pace more on the floor, and, his driving has been so much better and his vision has become so much better, finding our guys and trusting our guys, because it is hard to just walk onto a team you haven't played for in a week and then, try and kind of fit the mold that, the groove that they had already kind of had. But, I think Blake's done a great job for us, and, and it shows because he's getting those minutes in San Antonio and he's experiencing, he's having some tough situations happen for, like the NBA is a struggle, and playing 82 games is a struggle. So him coming here and being able to kind of, dust off his shoulders a little bit and say, all right, now I can go out there and kind of be myself, has been good for him.
Yeah, and I think Spurs fans have to understand this. I try to explain this with them, and especially I think during the bubble seasons when I spoke with Coach Patar the most about this, is that the G League is experimental in all things, even from jerseys to basketballs, and then to the players themselves. Yep. And I remember speaking with Coach Patar one time. He's like, "Oh, he goes, sometimes we get these San Antonio rookies, we let them have their way, try this, try that, see if this works." And I think one former player there with the Austin Spurs, I've forgotten his name, so pardon me, but it would tell me, he goes, I was in college and I never ran point, and now they're asking me to run point in Austin. And you look at the numbers and the stat lines, you're like, well, why do you have 8 turnovers? Well, because he's put in positions where they have to learn this. And sometimes I tell fans, don't really jump into the stats from the Austin, because they're putting these players in different situations so they can understand how to develop. And I think that's what I like about this.
Yeah, you're smart. Yeah. You're smart in telling them that, because it really is, a development in all aspects. And let's just kind of break it down just for everybody who's listening at home who doesn't really know. Like, you might see a player play 14 minutes in an NBA game, and then he doubles that, plays 30 minutes in a G League game, right? So we're allowing these guys to say, hey, go out there and make some mistakes,
Yeah,
go
exactly.
out there and take a couple shots so which ones are bad shots and which ones are good shots, and make throw the ball, try and thread that pass, because get your timing right, so when you're able to really kind of hone in on those things and rewatch it on film and look at the mistakes and be like, hey, these were your options. You took this tough shot, but you had a guy open in the corner.
Yeah.
You had a guy on your wing, and there was a guy in front of you. You can make these passes. And when they do that and they see that on film, you really do kind of see their eyes brighten up and say, okay, now I've been given another tool to make myself a better player.
Mhm.
And so it is the G League minutes really, really do impact,
Right.
how those guys come into the league and get those minutes moving forward.
Absolutely. Once again, we're talking about Nick Saenz. He's the assistant coach with the Austin Spurs. He is from San Antonio, attended Central Catholic High School. Go Buttons, because I went there too. You mentioned, and I know you're short on time. I know you got a game, so we'll wrap this up quick. But you mentioned Blake Wesley, and you said something. Yes, like we gave him tasks to do. What were those tasks? If you can relay that.
No, I mean, it's the tasks actually, we as an entire staff, even the big club as well, come together and have, just building blocks for our players. And it's not so much like we need you to get 10
Right.
assists or we need you to take X amount of shots or anything like that. It's just more so, we want to work on your finishing ability around the rim.
Got it.
Or we would like for you to, find a passing lane to get the ball back, to be able to play, off the ball and then back on it. Or we want you to bring the ball up the floor, or we want you to guard their best player. And what it does is it challenges them in a way, because we may not necessarily put him on a certain player in any regular situation, but we say, hey, we want you to guard him tonight, and give it what you can, because this will help you grow, because you get switched off onto a big in the NBA, and now you're instead of a 6'6" forward in the G League, you're guarding a 6'9" forward.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
So yeah, they got to be ready for everything, and our staff has done a great job putting together these plans for these guys, and it's not just Blake, it's all the way down the line.
Sure.
We make sure that we have something for everybody, and check in with that to make sure that we're still kind of locked into exactly the game plan, and we have some freedom to kind of tweak that as we see fit, but also just to make sure that these guys are excelling in what they do, not just building, but excelling in that.
How was it to be a part of that Bassey game where he just exploded for 40 points in like 2 seconds? I mean, that's what it felt like. Hey, that must have been a wild thing to see.
And we knew he had it in him, and that's what's great about being able to see him and coach him, because all of these guys are capable of doing that. We knew he can do that. And once he got in a rhythm, it's hard to stop a guy like him. And I saw how much of a force he was when he was playing in high school. So I could, like I said, I was just waiting for that time for him to get for him to have a game like he did. And obviously, it shows how great of a player he is.
Coach, do we shout out St. Anthony's? I don't think we should, as Central Catholic guys. Should we do it?
You know what? I'm going to say I'll shout out all the private schools in San Antonio, because I'll leave it at that. I won't start naming. I'll leave it at that.
Coach, let's go to wrap it up now and talk about you again in your future. And I had to get a little clarification with Coach, because during the bubble season, I kept on thinking it was Coach Saenz that I spoke with, but it was actually Coach Trevino. But you really lit up when we had a little quick discussion about that before we hit the record button. How you were excited to get a little elevated coaching experience, almost near that head coaching spot. For as much as you could tell us, I know maybe you got things in the works. I don't know, but I know right now you're with the Austin Spurs and that is your main focus. But if you could look forward what would your future plans look like? What would you want to do? Grow with Austin, perhaps become the head coach one day? What can you tell us about that?
I'll say this. My goal in life, and since I was a ball boy, I said I wanted to coach an NBA basketball team.
Mm-hmm.
And, I didn't know early on if the Spurs were going to be my final destination. And I don't think anybody knows. I know, all these coaches who are sitting on benches, I have a feeling want to be a head coach at some point, and may have grown up in a city where, they might have grown up in Milwaukee and want to be the Bucks head coach. And, but it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. There are 30 NBA teams, and that means there are 30 NBA coaching spots, and the numbers kind of trickle down from that point as far as assistants and all the way there. So my goal is for that. And I can say that coming back to San Antonio has been the best decision I've ever made. I always say I love to be back in the silver and black. And I know it's so corny, but it really does. It means so much to me, being from here, being a fan of the team before. And of course, did I want to beat the Spurs when I was working for another team? Absolutely. You're cheering for, the logo on your chest for sure. But if I could stay with San Antonio and grow here for the rest of my career, that would be the ultimate dream, because I think the culture, the organization, everybody from top to bottom, following RC Buford as a GM to now CEO, he has set the bar so high just for every NBA team to follow this. And this is what I feel is the most elite team in the league. And so the elite organization. And so being able to be in this organization and grow day by day would be the ultimate dream. And yes, I'd love to stay in Austin and refine my tools more and coach this team, because this is ultimately where I got the start. You know what I'm saying? My start was here in 2010. And so it would be a great story. And would I coach for the Spurs? Absolutely.
I bet you would.
You wouldn't have to ask me twice, but I feel like at some point every coach has to make a decision and say, what's my next move? What's my next, move upward? And so when that time comes, I'll make that move. But right now it's great to be here in San Antonio, and I hope I can keep my years here as long as possible.
Yeah, and seeing examples like Coach Mosley and, of course, even Taylor Jenkins with Memphis. I mean, that's really got to get you going and get your your mojo going as far as reaching that dream of being a head coach one day in the NBA. But the Austin Spurs season is not over yet. They just finished playing the game against Greensboro, but they still have a couple more games left on their season schedule. You could catch that on ESPN Plus. Also, we'll be taking Salt Lake City on March 21. Again, ESPN Plus. If you want to check out Coach Saenz and the rest of the Austin Spurs. Coach, once a button, always a button, right?
Absolutely. God bless our Central High.
I have not heard. You know what? When you said that entire theme, the rattler, the button song just flashed through my head before and after every football game out at the Quad.
I was gonna say, hopefully you don't lose the listeners, because we've been right on Central the entire time. Hopefully they're not like, oh, we can't listen to this anymore. This guy's a homer.
These two guys from Central? Oh no, get out of here. We lost a lot of Holy Cross listeners, I'll tell you that much.
I was gonna say, when two Central guys get together, it's usually a good time. So
usually is, And on that note, let's get off the record now, so we're gonna really have some fun. But all kidding aside, thank you, Coach Nick Saenz. We appreciate you as always. Again, good to meet a fellow button as well. And again, shout out Austin Spurs for letting you come on this episode of Locked On Spurs. So for Coach Nick Saenz, I am Jeff Garcia. We're putting a lot on this episode of Locked On Spurs.